Okay, welcome back once more. So if you're back a third time, I think that means I'm doing a pretty good job of explaining this game and showing you how much fun it can be. Which is crazy because we are still just barely scratching the surface. So, if you remember from last time, we got a little bit more science from our second test flight and we were able to buy new parts for our rocket. So we're going to move on to test 3. And test 3 is going to be a bit of an upgrade. So first of all, we are done with this rocket booster, so we can click it and ditch it on the side there. And now we can get to liquid-fueled rocketry. So we'll buy one fuel tank, and that's not going to be enough. So we're going to stack a few of these together. I think 4 should probably do. And then we're going to go play with our new engine. So this is the liquid-fueled swivel engine. And we'll get into what all the numbers that you see there, the mass, the thrust, and all that kind of stuff. We'll get into that later. For now, though, it's just a cool, fun engine. So this is a bit of an upgrade, as we know. And later on, we could upgrade it even further by making multiple stages of the rocket itself, by adding more decouplers and adding more stages below. But for now, what we're going to focus on is controlling the liquid-fueled engine and maybe doing a little bit of steering if we can. So, test 3, our stages are all still correct. We've got our engine, we've got our decoupler, and we've got our parachute still attached, and we have our mystery goo unit and our thermometer here on the craft as well. So I think we're ready to launch again. So we'll go back to the launch pad. Okay, so here we are back at the launch pad. Now you've seen all the elements of this screen before, but what we're going to pay more attention to this time is the nav ball. So because we have a liquid-fueled engine, we have to worry about the throttle. If I were to hit spacebar right now, nothing would happen because our throttle is at 0. So in order to launch this rocket, we're going to need a little bit of throttle. And I'm going to press shift, and shift is going to throttle us up. And we're going to start out at 100%. And once we get moving off the launch pad, we're going to throttle down to probably about a third, because when we're still in the thick, heavy part of the atmosphere, it's not efficient to try to accelerate. So we're going to just kind of coast slowly until we get up into some thinner air, and then we're going to throttle back up so that we can spend more of our fuel and be more efficient with it. We're also going to use the nav ball a little bit. I'm going to use WASD to use the nav ball. And all I'm going to do is D. I'm just going to tilt the rocket over to the right a little bit once we get into the air. And that's going to help us fly further away from the launch site. So we're going to activate the SAS, we're going to activate the RCS, and we're throttled up to 100%. And we're ready to go. So ignition in 3, 2, 1, spacebar. So as you can see, we get going. We're moving at a pretty good pace. And we're just going to wait until we see this right here, the vapor trail, the kind of fuzziness around. And that's when we're going to use control to throttle down. And you can see our fuel burn goes way down here on the left. But our speed still keeps going up. So now I'm going to press D a couple of times, and that's going to tilt the rocket over. I'm just going to try to hold it by using A at about here, let's say, about that angle. Don't have to be too precise yet. And now that we're through the thick part of the atmosphere, we have a little bit of fuel left, we can throttle back up. And we can go real fast. All right, so we've used up all the fuel, and we're going pretty fast. So we don't need any of this anymore, any of the engines or fuel tanks, so we'll decouple. So it's the next stage, so let's press spacebar in 3, 2, 1, ka-chunk. As you can see now, we're getting quite a bit higher than we did on our previous 2 flights. So if we want to check exactly how high we're going, let's go back to the map. Toggle the map, we scroll around, zoom in, we see that our apoapsis is going to be about 65,000 meters. It's coming up. So I can warp from this screen as well. So I just come up to the top left and we'll zoom ahead a little bit to save some time. We're about 10 seconds away, so we'll go back to regular time and we'll toggle off the map. And we will observe our mystery goo again. Goo seems to be getting very cold. Yeah, I believe it. So we'll keep that experiment and we will log the temperature, collect and record temperature data from the environment. How exciting. So we'll keep that one as well. And then right click to get rid of those boxes. So now we're heading back down into the atmosphere. So we'll activate our next stage because we're ready for parachute deployment, the next thing that's going to happen is parachute deployment. So we need it to be active. So staging in 3, 2, 1. Notice the parachute doesn't open because we don't meet the criteria. So if I go onto this part and right click it, you can see the minimum pressure that's required to open is 0.04, and for it to fully open will be 1,000 feet off the ground. So we can adjust these if we want. If I wanted the parachute to deploy sooner, I would make it even less pressure. If I wanted it to deploy later, I would make it more pressure. Or if I wanted it to deploy higher off the ground, I can change this value to say 5,000 meters or something. So you can customize those little parts, but for now we can use the default settings. All right, so we're coming back into the atmosphere now. You can see the craft is wobbling. It's starting to get interference. The air is getting thicker again. As you can see, our atmosphere indicator is ramping up, and we should start to see those vapor cones and the shock waves forming around the ship as it gets into the thicker parts of the atmosphere. And as you can see, we're much, much farther away from the Space Center because we tilted over to the right and launched not just straight up this time. Oh, I guess we're not going to get the vapor cones. We weren't fast enough. That's great. Okay, so we'll warp forward. To save some time. And come in for a nice splashdown. So on this mission, what we did was we learned how to control the throttle. And I showed you how to throttle up for takeoff, for launch, throttle down so that we didn't use up too much of our fuel in the thick air, and then throttle back up once we were past most of the atmosphere. And then we steered a little bit steered the rocket a little bit to get us further away from the launch pad. Thanks for tuning in, and let's actually, before we sign off, let's recover the vessel and see how much science we got. So it looks like we got 7.2 science from the temperature scan, 9 science from the mystery goo, and 0.1 science from recovering a vessel that survived a flight. So you can see how doing the same thing over and over again starts to get very boring for the game because you get less and less science for it every time. So it really encourages you to go out and do new things and explore more of the atmosphere to get more science. So we have 24 science, we got our pilot back, and we can go and see what we could build now. So general rocketry, that would get us another liquid fueled engine, an even bigger booster, bigger fuel tanks. Stability will get us some aerodynamic stuff, so fins that we can use to keep the rocket pointed straight, and radial decouplers so we can attach stuff to the side of our rocket. and then survivability, which gives us some more different parachutes that mount to the side of the rocket, landing struts, barometers, so that could be useful to get even more science out of the missions. And then heat shields. So we'll need heat shields eventually when we get outside of the atmosphere and then we start coming back in from orbital speeds. You'll need heat shields for survivability. So we'll decide on which one to buy later. For now, thanks for tuning in again, and hope to see you next time.